Sorry, for the sake of our name bars, could you tell us your name and where you work?
Okay, Jamie Cheng, and I'm the founder of Klei Entertainment.
Awesome. Where did you work before then?
I was at Relic. I was a programmer at Relic, and I was making a game in my spare time. The game was EETS, and we were just doing it at nights. And Relic had a great policy that whatever you made at night, it was yours. It was your own thing, right? So we carried on that policy, of course, at Klei. And I just started showing it around, and people started liking it. And someone said, "Hey, maybe you should try to sell this," right? And I was like, "No, that's not going to work out." And I applied to Ubisoft in Shanghai as a programmer. My split was either should I be a programmer in China, or should I just start this whatever thing and see what happens, right? And I ended up just seeing what happens. And then 14 years later, I'm still doing it.
You're still here.
Yeah. It didn't really sell, but it was a really good first step, and then we got some funding from the government, and that led it so that I could eat. But it let me live another day and try again another day. And then we ended up working with Nexon, and we built a game with them for 2 years. And 2 weeks before we were supposed to launch, they shut down the whole thing.
Right.
They shut down the entire, there's like 100 people around us got laid off. So that game died. Never saw the light of day. If you search Sugar Rush, you'll find some videos of it because we were in closed beta. But that was 2.5 years of work just gone.
The first time I would have come across you, I remember going back and playing EETS, but the first time I would have come across you, I think was Shank was...
It's probably Shank, yeah.
So could you tell us about how that came together?
So we started that about 2 months before Nexon shut down. We kind of had an inkling that something was up. And because we were renting from their office, so we kind of saw everything. And we kind of was like, well, if this goes belly up, we better have something. So Jeff and I were just prototyping something, and I had been playing a lot of Devil May Cry. And so I was trying this gunplay thing, and then he was doing art. And we kind of prototyped this game, and then one of our programmers started working on it as well and having some fun with it. And then everything went to shit. And so we had to figure out something out. So we started building Shank, and then in January, we had 2.5 months before GDC. And so we built a demo in 2.5 months, went to GDC, pitched the crap out of it, tried to get a deal, but it ended up taking us about a year to sign a deal. We started the company, I'm a programmer, and then Jeff came on and he's an artist, and we had no design background. And between Shank and Mark and the Ninja, it was this realization that we have to get good at design. And Mark and the Ninja was kind of where we figured out what we liked as well, and how it could be good at design as well. And so you could see a lot of the systemic systems in Mark and the Ninja where we set up basically like a puzzle, but there's lots of different ways that you can solve it. So you see that a lot in Don't Starve, you see that a lot in Invisible Ink, and Option Not Included. You see these systemic systems all play together. In the summer, I think it was 2011 or so, and Jeff and I looking at each other and going, do we want to keep doing this? This is crazy. We're running this treadmill, we have to find the next publisher deal, and then if we don't find the next publisher deal, what's going to happen? And even if we make a hit, how much money are we actually going to make when so much of it goes to the publisher? And so, and also we don't want to make side-scrolling games anymore. We didn't want to just be the side-scrolling company. So we started doing tons of prototypes and talking to staff about, let's make sure that our next game is our own and not side-scrolling. It was literally called Project Not Side-Scrolling.
Really?
Yeah, it's literally called that.
Awesome. So where did the idea for Don't Starve how did it all come together?
That was from a game jam. So Kevin Forbes and Julian and these a couple of people, they got together and they built a really crappy kind of Robinson Crusoe style game. And there's a guy called Wilson, and he's starving there. And then we found out that Google was looking for content for the Chrome Web Store. So we just started pitching random ideas, and this was one of them. And they were like, that one looks good, and off it went. We took that chance. We said, we have this money to do something. Let's just go for it. This is a free chance. And we went for it, and we ended up shipping the game in 7 months, and then testing it out, and then it worked.
So when did it go from being like, oh, it's getting a bit of traction, oh, it's doing quite well, to, was it the Steam launch?
Yeah, it was the Steam launch.
So what was that like?
It was just incredible. I mean, it was, okay, this is a fun little weird project, to, oh my God, we're making I don't know, I don't remember how much it was, but it was more than enough to sustain the company finally. Right. And so my only question was, how do I keep doing this? After about 3 months of development, it was an uncompromising survival game. That's what it's about, right? And we were very adamant that we wanted it to be really intrinsically rewarding to play the game. And so we just leaned super hard on that. We said, it's gonna be fun because it's fun. That's why it's fun, right? And it's interesting to learn. It's like people want to learn and people want to experience things. They don't have to get something out of that. And so we really wanted to lean hard on it, and we leaned so hard that, it was a roguelike that took you hours and hours to play. And we knew that we would get some hate on it, but also, if we play chess or basketball or whatever, you're not like, what did I get out of this game, right? You got the experience of doing that thing, right? So that was the core of what Don't Starve is, and still what the core of Don't Starve is today, and that's why it's so uncompromising. It just had a day-night cycle, basically, and some food. And so there was no sanity, there was food and health, basically. So it really wasn't much of a game. If you ever saw the pitch that we showed Google, it's a totally different game. We pitched what we felt like would get bought, rather than the game that we wanted to make. Right. And then we started making the game we wanted to make. And I remember, to their credit, they were like, this game looks cool, it's not the game that we bought, but that's okay. So it was really awesome.
You guys turned that up to 11,
yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of complexity. How do you keep that fun? Because there's no ceiling on difficulty. You can keep going. So how do you make it so that it's fun and it's not frustrating?
Yeah, so we try to make sure that people are learning all the time, and we try to make sure that people feel like it was their fault. And those are kind of two key bits. So when they died, did they learn something? If they died and they didn't feel like they learned anything, then there's a problem. Because are they going to want to do it again? And learning is the fun part. And then the other part is, was it their fault or did I just kill them? We've done a bunch of expansions, but obviously the biggest one is making it a multiplayer game. It's pretty funny, Kevin, who really designed the first version, he was pretty anti-multiplayer. He himself does not want to play a multiplayer game. And he didn't want to design it, but so many people wanted to play it. And I could see it in my head. This Lord of the Flies thing. I was like, it's gonna work. It's gonna basically just work. You just add some people and then we're gonna fix up some stuff, but I think it's gonna be super fun. So for I'd say a good year and a half, every time someone new joined Klei, a new programmer joined Klei, I'd be like, so I have this idea, multiplayer Don't Starve, what do you think? And if they kind of demurred, I'd be like, okay, forget it. And then the next person would come and I'd be like, so multiplayer Don't Starve. And eventually someone's like, yeah, that sounds like a really great idea. And I'm like, I think so too. And we started thinking about how that would work, and they prototyped it and they made it work in about 6 months.
Really? It's funny you mentioned the Robinson Crusoe thing, because was it Shipwrecked was one of the updates?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
Is that going back to the original?
Yes, that's correct. I was just having drinks with Nathan Vela from Cappy, and he was talking about how he had a team, and he was like, I'm not sure what project we're going to work on next. And I pitched him that maybe he could make an expansion. And he came up with a bunch of ideas, and the one that we settled on was basically Robinson Crusoe. You're going actually on islands and, totally changing the feel of the game and taking a boat out, and yeah, that's basically what it was.
That's awesome.
When we're building games, we're thinking about the kinds of experiences that we want to create. That's the kind of thing that we're thinking about. And so what warms my heart is when people are having those kinds of experiences, when they're laughing because everything went to shit. Right. I think that those are just amazing, that we managed to make it so that this failure moment was so fun and so amazing for them. Those moments there where everything is going to crap and they're enjoying it, and I'm saying, okay, great, we made learning fun.
And obviously the success of Don't Starve over the past few years has allowed you to, work on a bunch of other projects since that one as well. Can you tell us about Invisible Ink and everything you've been working on since?
Yeah, so Invisible Ink, which is maybe a love letter to Netrunner. To me, it's the kind of evolution of Mark of the Ninja as a stealth game. So if you look at Mark of the Ninja as a stealth game, it's a puzzle game. That's what the game is. So if you look at a scenario and you figure it out. Now you figured it out. So the next time you play, it's the same. But Invisible Ink, it's randomized. So it's not a puzzle game in the same sense. You have to actually figure out how you're going to solve it every single time. And so you really feel like someone who is underpowered, and you need to get the information in order to outsmart the other people. And then Auction Not Included, which we've sold about 1 million copies now, which is really awesome because it is such a nerdy game. I feel like we've tricked 1 million people to do their homework or something, you know? It's just so fun. We just build a game that we feel like is really interesting experience that people feel like, oh, I want to experience that. And the way that we hope to sell games is for someone to say, wow, I just played this game and I've never had that experience before. You should play it because you won't get it anywhere else. And so that's our whole business model, I guess.